The Tak Empire's warships hung in Earth's sky, massive and dark. They blocked the sun over many cities. People walked the streets with their eyes turned up, looking at these alien ships. For 30 years, the Tak had taken over the galaxy one planet at a time. Now they had come to Earth. Commander Han stood in the United Nations chamber. Her uniform was crisp, but her hands were tight fists at her sides. Across from her, Admiral Krill of the Tak waited. His scaled skin reflected the lights, and his 4 eyes blinked one after another. "We have considered your terms," Han said. Her voice was steady, but inside she felt hollow. Earth's military had fought for 3 months before this meeting. They had lost every battle. And Krill's voice was smooth like oil. "Earth accepts the terms of the Galactic Confederation Treaty." The words hurt her throat. She had joined the Earth Defense Force to protect her planet, not surrender it. Admiral Krill's mouth stretched into what might have been a smile. His sharp teeth gleamed. "Wise choice, Commander Han. Your cooperation ensures Earth's," he paused, "continued existence." Behind Han, Earth's leaders sat in silence. They had argued for days before this meeting. Some wanted to keep fighting. Others saw no point in more deaths when they could not win. "The Tak are fair rulers," Krill continued. "You will find our oversight beneficial. Your people may continue their lives with minimal changes." Han knew this was a lie. She had seen reports from other conquered worlds, but she nodded anyway. Her job now was to help Earth survive. Within weeks, the changes began. Tak ships landed in each major city. They built tall black towers that they called oversight stations. Tak officials moved in and began giving orders. First, they demanded metals: iron, copper, titanium. Then they wanted food. Then workers. Each month, the demands grew larger. "These resources are needed for galactic stability," the Tak officials would say when anyone questioned them. "All planets must contribute." Han now worked as the human liaison to the Tak command. Each day, she took their demands to Earth's leaders and returned with promises of compliance. Each night, she went home feeling like a traitor. But at home, she had Ja. Her 8-year-old daughter saw the world differently. "Mom, did you know the Tak have 3 stomachs?" Jia asked one evening as Han prepared dinner. "Officer Mech told me when I visited your work today." Han turned from the stove. "You shouldn't bother the Tak officials, Jia." "I wasn't bothering him. He showed me pictures of his home planet. It has 2 suns." Han tried to be strict, but she couldn't help smiling at her daughter's excitement. Ja had been born after the first alien contact, but before the Tak invasion. To her, aliens were just another kind of people. 1 month after the surrender, the Tak brought refugees to Earth. They were blue-skinned people called Aksharans, whose planet had been stripped of resources. The Tak settled them in camps near major cities. "They need to be monitored," Admiral Krill explained to Han. "The Aksharans have caused trouble in the past." Han visited the refugee camp near Seoul. The conditions were poor. The Aksharans lived in thin tents that leaked when it rained. They had little food. Many were sick. "Can we provide better housing?" Han asked Krill the next day. "That is not necessary," he replied. "The Aksharans are used to hardship." Han went home troubled that night. She found Jia drawing pictures at the kitchen table. "What are you drawing?" Han asked. "This is Lomo." Jia pointed to a blue figure. "He's my new friend. And this is me." She pointed to a smaller figure holding hands with Lomo. "Where did you meet Lomo?" Han asked, though she already knew the answer. "At the camp. Teacher took us there today to bring food." Jia looked up. "Mom, why do Lomo and his family live in tents?" "It's cold at night." Han sat down next to her daughter. "It's complicated, Jia. Lomo says the Tak took their home. Is that true?" Han hesitated. She had always been honest with Jia. "Yes, that's true." "Will they take our home too?" "No," Han said quickly. "We have an agreement with them." Jia went back to drawing. After a minute, she said, "Lomo is nice. He taught me a game from his planet. He's just like us, Mom. He just looks different and talks funny." Han looked at her daughter's drawing, a human child and an alien child holding hands. "Yes," she said softly. "They're just like us." Perhaps that simple wisdom was what the galaxy needed most. The next day, Han requested permission to improve the refugee camp. Admiral Krill denied it, but Han found other ways to help. She organized food donations through local schools. She arranged for doctors to visit the camp voluntarily. And she let Jia visit Lomo. The children became close friends. Jia taught Lomo Korean games, and he taught her Aksharan songs. Soon, other human children joined them. Then their parents began to meet as well. "The Aksharans have suffered much," an older refugee named Taz told Han one day. "Our planet was beautiful once. The Talk took everything of value and left us with nothing." "I'm sorry," Han said. "Do not be sorry," Taz replied. "Be careful. The Talk will do the same here, given time." Han knew he was right. Each week, more Talk ships arrived. More resources left Earth. More humans were assigned to work in Talk facilities. But something else was happening too. The friendship between humans and Aksharans was growing. They shared stories and meals. They helped each other with daily tasks. They began to see themselves not as humans and aliens, but as people united by a common problem. "Lomo's dad showed me how to make a star map," Jia told Han one evening. "He says all the stars have people living near them. Is that true?" "Many of them do," Han said. "Are they all afraid of the Talk?" Han considered lying, but couldn't. "Yes, most of them are." Jia frowned. "That's not right. Nobody should make everybody afraid." Han hugged her daughter close. "No, they shouldn't." What Han didn't tell Jia was that she had begun attending secret meetings. Humans and Aksharans gathering after dark, whispering about resistance. It was dangerous. But after seeing the friendship between the children, Han had hope. If they could work together, perhaps they could find a way to stand against the Talk. For now, though, she would protect that friendship. It was small, but it was a beginning. The morning started like any other. The sun rose over Seoul, warming the community garden, where human and Aksharan children often played together. Commander Han kissed Jia goodbye before heading to her meeting with Earth's remaining government officials. "Be home for dinner," Han reminded her daughter. "And don't wander too far from Mrs. Park's site." "I won't," Jia promised, already looking past her mother to where Lomo waited by the garden gate. His blue skin shimmered in the morning light. Han watched them run off together, their laughter mixing in the air. For a moment, she felt almost normal, almost happy. Then she remembered the report she carried in her bag, another increase in resource quotas from the Talk. Another impossible demand. The meeting was tense. Earth's leaders argued about how to meet the new quotas. "We can't give them more food," said Minister Kim. "Our own people are already hungry. If we refuse, they will take it by force," another official countered. Han was about to speak when her comm unit buzzed. The screen showed an urgent message from the refugee sector. Her heart jumped in her chest. "Talk inspection underway in Sector 7. Situation unstable." Sector 7, where Jia was playing today. Han stood up so quickly her chair fell backward. "I need to go. Now." She ran from the building to her vehicle. The drive to Sector 7 took 15 minutes, but it felt like hours. Her hands shook on the steering wheel. Talk inspections were never gentle. They claimed to look for hidden weapons or illegal technology, but mostly they reminded people who was in charge. When Han turned onto the main street of Sector 7, she saw the Talk enforcers immediately. Their tall, scaled bodies moved through the crowd of humans and Aksharans. Their weapons were drawn. "Where are they taking them?" A woman cried as Han pushed past. Han didn't stop to ask who. She had to find Jia. The community garden was 2 blocks away. Han ran, pushing through the frightened crowd. She heard the shot before she reached the garden. a sharp crack of energy that cut through all other noise. Han's heart stopped. The garden gate was open. People were shouting. Han forced her legs to move faster. Inside the garden, a circle of people stood frozen. At its center lay a small body. Han couldn't see clearly. She shoved people aside. "Let me through. That's my daughter." The crowd parted. Han fell to her knees beside Jia. The girl's eyes were open but saw nothing. A black mark on her chest showed where the energy blast had struck her. "No," Han whispered. "No, no, no." She gathered Jia into her arms. The child's body was still warm. Han rocked her back and forth, as she had done when Jia was a baby. Around her, people began to speak. The talk were rounding up Acturans. They said it was a surprise inspection. Lomo was scared. Jia stood in front of him. She told them to leave him alone. The officer, he pointed his weapon. He fired a warning shot, but it hit the metal sculpture. It bounced and hit Jia. Han heard their words but couldn't process them. She could only feel the weight of her daughter in her arms, growing heavier as the life left her body. Someone touched Han's shoulder. She looked up to see Lomo's father, Taz. His blue face was streaked with tears. "Commander Han," he said softly, "the Tak are leaving. They took many of our people, including Lomo. But they left her." Han looked past him. The Tak enforcers were marching away, herding a group of Acturans before them. One officer remained behind, watching the scene in the garden. Han gently laid Jia's body on the ground. She stood up, her uniform stained with her daughter's blood. She walked toward the Tak officer, her steps steady though her world had shattered. "Who fired that shot?" Han's voice was quiet but carried through the silent garden. The officer looked down at her from his greater height. Lieutenant Drux was following protocol. The human child interfered with official Tak business. "She was 8 years old," Han said. "Age is irrelevant when security is at stake," the officer replied. He touched his comm unit. "I will report this incident. An official statement will be issued." He turned and walked away, following the other enforcers. Han stood alone, watching him go. Around her, humans and Acturans gathered, drawn together by shared horror. Someone brought a blanket to cover Jia. Someone else took pictures of the scene, documenting what had happened. Han noticed these things distantly, as if watching from outside her body. Mrs. Park approached, her face wet with tears. "Commander, I'm so sorry." She was right next to me. Then the Tak came, and everyone was running. By the time I realized, she wasn't with me. "It's not your fault," Han said, her voice hollow. "It's theirs." That evening, Han demanded a meeting with Admiral Krill. The Tak commander received her in his office atop the tallest oversight station. The room's windows looked out over Seoul, now lit by the setting sun. "Commander Han," Krill said, not rising from his seat, "I understand there was an unfortunate incident today." "Your officer killed my daughter," Han said. Krill blinked his 4 eyes one after another. "I have reviewed Lieutenant Drux's report. He fired a warning shot during a standard security operation. The energy blast ricocheted off a metal object and struck your child. This was clearly unintentional." "She was protecting her friend," Han said. "An Acturan child you were taking away." "The Acturans were being relocated for security purposes," Krill said smoothly. "Your daughter interfered with official Tak business. She was 8 years old." "Regrettable collateral damage," Krill said, waving a scaled hand dismissively. "Nothing more." Han felt something break inside her. "I want justice. Lieutenant Drux must be punished." "That will not happen," Krill said. "The incident has been reported to the Galactic Confederation Council. They have already responded that no action is warranted, given the circumstances. Diplomatic protocols protect Tak officers acting in their official capacity. My daughter is dead. And that is unfortunate," Krill said, standing now. "But the stability of the galaxy requires firm enforcement of our rules. Your daughter should have been taught to respect Tak authority." Han wanted to leap across the desk and tear Krill's throat out with her bare hands. Instead, she stood rigid, her nails digging into her palms. "This meeting is over," Krill said. "You are dismissed, Commander." Han returned home to an empty apartment. Jo's toys were scattered on the floor where she had left them that morning. Her half-finished homework sat on the kitchen table. Her favorite stuffed animal, a blue dolphin, waited on her bed. Han picked up the toy. Jo had named it Star because its color reminded her of the night sky. Han held it to her chest as she sat on her daughter's bed. As the night deepened around her, Han's grief transformed. The tears dried on her face. The pain in her chest hardened into purpose. The talk had ruled through fear for generations. They had never faced real resistance because everyone was too afraid of their power. But they had never faced a mother who had lost everything that mattered. Han looked at the toy in her hands. "They think fear keeps people in line," she whispered to the empty room. "But they don't understand what they've created today." She reached under her daughter's bed and pulled out the communication device she had been given weeks ago, a device from the growing resistance movement. She had not used it yet, afraid of the consequences. She was not afraid anymore. Han activated the device. A voice answered immediately. "Yes. This is Commander Han," she said. "I'm ready." 6 months passed after Jo's death. Fall turned to winter, then spring came again. Han still served as Earth's liaison to the talk, but something in her had changed. The other officials noticed it. She no longer argued or pleaded. She simply took the talk orders and passed them on. Her eyes were cold and her voice flat. Even Admiral Krill noticed the change. "You have become more efficient, Commander Han," he told her one day. "It seems you have accepted your place in the new order." Han nodded without speaking. Inside, she thought of Jo's face, of the resistance contact who had reached out to her, of the plans taking shape in her mind. At night, after her work for the talk was done, Han studied. She reviewed old military texts, histories of guerrilla movements, psychological warfare techniques. She had been trained as a conventional military officer, but conventional tactics would not work against the talk. One rainy evening, Han got a message on her secret communicator. It was time. She put on a plain jacket with a hood and left her apartment. The streets of Seoul were mostly empty. Few people went out after dark anymore. Talk patrols were common, and their justice was harsh. Han followed the directions she had been given. She entered an old building, went down to the basement, and found a hidden door behind some storage boxes. It led to a narrow tunnel. The air was damp and cold as she walked deeper underground. After 10 minutes of walking, Han heard a sound ahead. She stopped, her hand moving to the small weapon hidden in her jacket. "Commander Han," a voice spoke from the shadows. A slender man stepped forward into the dim light of the tunnel. "I'm Park. We've been waiting for someone like you." Han studied the man. He was younger than she expected, maybe 30, with sharp eyes and a quiet voice. "How do I know I can trust you?" Han asked. Park smiled slightly. "You don't. But you're here because you have nothing left to lose. And neither do we." He turned and walked deeper into the tunnel. After a moment, Han followed. The tunnel joined a larger one that Han recognized as part of Seoul's old subway system, abandoned after the talk arrival. They walked for another 15 minutes before Park stopped at a metal door. He knocked in a pattern. 3 quick knocks, then 2 slow ones. The door opened. Park gestured for Han to enter. Inside was a vast chamber that must have once been a subway station. It had been converted into a base of operations. Tables with maps and computers filled the space. People moved about purposefully. And not just people, Han realized. There were aliens too. She recognized Aksharans with their blue skin. There were also tall, thin beings with 4 arms that she knew were from the Lyran system, and small, furry creatures that might be Pulverins. A dozen different species all working together. "Welcome to the Resistance," Park said. An older Aksharan approached them. Han recognized him immediately. "Taz," she said softly. The blue-skinned alien inclined his head. Commander Han, I am sorry we meet again under these circumstances, but perhaps now we can honor your daughter's memory by finishing what she started. What do you mean? Han asked. Jia showed us that humans and other species could be friends, could stand together, Taz said. Now we must stand together against the talk. Park led Han to a central table where several beings were gathered. This is our leadership council, he explained. Representatives from each species in the resistance. A human woman with gray hair nodded to Han. I'm Dr. Song. I was a historian before the talk came. Now I study them. What have you learned? Han asked. The talk have ruled through fear for centuries, Dr. Song said. They conquer a planet, install their oversight stations, and extract resources until nothing of value remains. Then they move on, leaving environmental disaster behind them. Why hasn't anyone stopped them? Han asked. The resistance has been gathering information for years, Park explained, but we lack tactical expertise. The talk have dominated for so long because their military strength seems invincible. Han looked around the table at the diverse faces watching her. No enemy is invincible, she replied. The talk rely on fear and overwhelming force. They've never faced an enemy willing to die for a cause. We are willing, said a Lyran, its four hands moving in gentle patterns as it spoke, but we do not know how to fight effectively. That's why we needed you, Park said. Your military background, your knowledge of human warfare. The talk have better weapons, Han pointed out. More ships, more soldiers. But they don't have this, Taz said, gesturing around the room. Different species working together, sharing knowledge. And they don't have human ingenuity. Han walked slowly around the chamber, taking in the operation. One area seemed to be a communications center, with equipment she didn't recognize. Another section had weapons, primitive by talk standards, but still lethal. A third area appeared to be medical, with beds and supplies. How many are you? She asked. In Seoul, about 500, Park answered. Across Earth, maybe 10,000. And there are cells on other planets too, though communication is difficult. Han nodded slowly. It wasn't much against the Talk Empire, but it was something. Show me what you know about Talk command structures, she said. Dr. Song led her to a display showing a pyramid of Talk ranks. They are extremely hierarchical, she explained. All orders come from the top. Lower ranks never make independent decisions. Han studied the display. That's a weakness we can exploit, she said. Cut off the head, and the body falls. Over the following weeks, Han spent every night in the underground base. She introduced the resistance to concepts the Talk had never encountered in their centuries of unchallenged rule. Guerrilla warfare, she explained to a group of fighters. You don't face the enemy directly. You strike quickly and then disappear. You target their supplies, their communications, their morale. She taught them about psychological operations. The Talk believe they are superior, she told them. We can use that arrogance against them. Make them doubt their safety. Make them see enemies everywhere. She emphasized decentralized command structures. Each cell must be able to operate independently, she said. If one is discovered, the others continue. No single leader whose loss would end the resistance. The alien members brought their own skills. The Lyrans could interface with technology in ways humans couldn't understand. The Pulverans could slip through spaces too small for Talk sensors to monitor. The Aksharans knew Talk biology, their weaknesses and vulnerabilities. One night, as Han was reviewing plans with Park, Taz approached them. There is someone who wishes to meet you, the Aksharan said. He led Han to a quiet corner of the base. There, sitting on a small bed, was Lomo. The blue child looked up as they approached. His eyes widened. Commander Han, he said softly. Han knelt before him. Lomo, I didn't know you were here. The resistance rescued me and my father after. He didn't finish. He didn't need to. I'm sorry about Jia, Lomo said. She was my friend. She tried to save me. Han felt the familiar pain in her chest. Yes, she did. I want to help fight the talk, Lomo said. For Ja. Han shook her head. You're too young. I can carry messages, Lomo insisted. I know how to move without being seen. And the talk don't pay attention to children. Han started to refuse again, but then stopped herself. She remembered Ja's courage, her willingness to stand up for what was right. We'll find a safe way for you to help, she promised Lomo. As she walked back with Taz, the Aksharan spoke quietly. That is why we will win, Commander Han. Not because of weapons or tactics, but because we fight for each other, for our children, for a future where no more children die at talk hands. Han nodded. Their weakness is their hierarchy, she repeated. But our strength is our diversity, our connections to each other. That night, before leaving the base, Han looked at the growing resistance army. Humans training alongside aliens, learning to work together despite their differences, learning to trust each other. The talk won't know what hit them, Park said, standing beside her. No, Han agreed. They won't. Han stood before the assembled resistance leaders in the underground base. 1 year had passed since she joined them. 1 year of planning, training, and waiting for the right moment. We're ready, she told them. The talk won't expect an attack. They think we're beaten. Park nodded. The Luna team is in position. The communication strike team is prepared. Earth's hidden military units are standing by. Han looked around the table. Humans and aliens watched her with trust in their eyes. They had become a family over the past year, united by loss, united by purpose. Remember the plan, Han said. We don't need to defeat all their forces. We just need to break their command structure. Make them doubt. Make them fear. As the resistance leaders left to join their teams, Taz approached Han. Are you certain this is the right time? The Aksharan asked. Han looked at the small picture she kept with her always. Jia smiling, holding Lomo's hand. Yes, she said. It's time they learn the cost of taking our children. The first strike came without warning. A talk supply depot on Luna exploded, destroying critical fuel reserves. The blast lit up the lunar surface like a new star. Earth's people saw it as a bright flash in the night sky. Many didn't know what it meant, but they would soon. In his command center, Admiral Krill received the report of the explosion. A maintenance failure, his subordinate suggested. Those fuel cells are unstable. Krill accepted this explanation. After all, who would dare attack the talk? 3 days later, Han watched the second phase begin. Across the solar system, communication relays failed simultaneously. The Resistance had planted small devices on each relay months ago. Now they activated them all at once. As the talk scrambled to restore order, anonymous messages flooded their command channels. The voice was that of a child, reciting a simple nursery rhyme in Korean. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. The voice repeated this over and over on all talk frequencies. They could not shut it out. Han knew the voice well. It was Ja's, recorded before her death. Han had found the recording on an old phone. Now her daughter's voice was the first weapon in their war against the talk. In his command center, Admiral Krill's 4 eyes blinked rapidly in distress. What is happening? He demanded of his intelligence officers, find the source of this transmission. But they could not. The signal seemed to come from everywhere at once. While the talk were distracted, the next phase began. Across Earth, hidden military units emerged from their concealment. Nobody had realized that humans had been hiding their true military capabilities all along. Earth's nations had united in secret after the talk arrival, developing technologies specifically designed to target talk weaknesses, weapons that could penetrate talk armor, jammers that blocked their sensors, drones too small for their tracking systems to detect. Admiral Krill received the reports with growing alarm. This is impossible, he said. Their weapons were primitive. Their technology was basic. They hid their true capabilities, his security chief admitted. We underestimated them. Krill slammed his scaled fist on the table. Find Commander Han, he ordered. She must know something about this. But Han was already gone. She had disappeared from her apartment the night before. Now she moved through the shadowy corridors of the Resistance's newest acquisition, a small TOC transport ship captured in a daring raid months earlier. The ship approached the massive TOC command vessel in orbit around Earth. Han checked her weapon one last time. Around her, 5 other Resistance members prepared for the mission. We'll have 10 minutes from docking to reach the central command deck, Han reminded them. After that, their security systems will detect us. Next to her sat Kim, a former Special Forces operator with a talent for systems infiltration. His fingers moved deftly over the controls of their stolen ship. Their docking protocols accept our codes, he said. They still don't know this ship is compromised. On Han's other side was Lee, whose expertise in TOC biology had identified their few physical vulnerabilities. She carried specialized weapons designed to exploit those weaknesses. Remember, Lee said, aim for the junction between neck and shoulder. Their scales are thinnest there. Han nodded. The plan was simple but dangerous. They would dock with the command ship, fight their way to the central control room, and insert a virus into the main computer. The virus would spread through the TOC network, disrupting their entire command structure. 2 minutes to docking, Kim announced. Han closed her eyes briefly. She thought of Jia, of her bright smile and curious eyes, of her standing bravely before the TOC officer, protecting her friend. For Jia, Han whispered as their ship connected with the command vessel's hull. The docking was smooth. No alarms sounded. The TOC didn't suspect anything was wrong until the Resistance team was already inside. The first TOC guards they encountered fell quickly, taken by surprise. Han led the way, moving through corridors she had memorized from stolen plans. They encountered more resistance as they moved deeper into the ship. 3 minutes elapsed, Kim said as they took cover behind a corner. Ahead, 4 TOC guards blocked their path. Lee pulled out a small device. Cover your ears, she warned. She activated the device, which emitted a high-pitched sound. The TOC guards clutched their heads in pain. Their hearing was much more sensitive than humans. Han signaled, and the team moved forward, neutralizing the disabled guards. 5 minutes, Kim reported as they reached the central lift. We're making good time. The lift carried them upward, toward the command deck. When the doors opened, they faced their biggest challenge, a squad of elite TOC guards. The fight was brief but intense. Han took a glancing blow to her shoulder. Lee was knocked to the ground but recovered quickly. Kim's expertise with the ship's systems allowed him to disable the emergency lockdown before it could trap them. 8 minutes, he said as they approached the final door. Beyond it lay the central control room, and Admiral Krill. Han took a deep breath. Ready? She asked her team. They nodded. Han punched in the access code they had obtained from a captured TOC officer. The door slid open. Inside, Admiral Krill stood before a large display showing the chaos unfolding across the solar system. He turned as they entered, his 4 eyes widening in surprise. Commander Han, he said, so you are behind this rebellion. Not just me, Han replied, stepping forward. All of us. Every species you've oppressed. Every world you've destroyed. Krill's scales rippled in what might have been amusement. You cannot hope to defeat the TOC Empire with one small uprising. We don't need to defeat your entire empire today, Han said. We just need to break your control of Earth, to show the galaxy that the TOC can be fought, can be beaten. As she spoke, Kim moved to a computer terminal and began his work. Lee and the others secured the room, disarming the few TOC officers present. You humans are more resourceful than we expected, Krill admitted. But this is futile. Even if you take this ship, more will come. Perhaps, Han agreed. But they'll come to a different Earth. One that's ready for them. One that's united with other species against you. Kim looked up from the terminal. "It's done," he said. "The virus is uploading." On the display screens around them, TOC systems began to fail across the solar system. Ships lost power. Weapons went offline. Oversight stations went dark. And on every screen, a message appeared in multiple languages. For the children of all worlds. For freedom. For justice. Han stepped closer to Krill. "You killed my daughter," she said quietly. "You called it regrettable collateral damage. Now you'll learn what real regret feels like." Krill's scales flattened against his body. A sign of fear. "What are you going to do to me?" he asked. Han studied him for a long moment. Then she said, "Something you would never understand. Something you would never do. I'm going to let you live. To face justice. To answer for your crimes before representatives of all the species you've harmed." As they led Krill away, Han looked out the viewport at Earth below. Somewhere down there, in the resistance base, Loma was waiting for news. Han would tell him how they had won the first battle in a war for freedom, how the sacrifice of one brave child had sparked a revolution. "We did it, Ja," Han whispered. "We lit the spark. Now it will spread across the stars." The final battle erupted across the galaxy, a coordinated strike that caught the TOC completely by surprise. Resistance groups that had been quietly preparing for years suddenly sprang into action, targeting key TOC command centers and communication networks. On the bridge of the TOC flagship, Admiral Krill watched in horror as everything he had built began to fall apart. Commander Han stood before him, her eyes burning with a quiet intensity that made the alien commander take a step back. "How?" Krill stammered, his composure crumbling. "You're just humans." Han's response was calm but deadly. "We are more than you ever understood. Our strength comes from our love, not our weapons." The attack was precision itself. Years of planning, of gathering intelligence, of waiting for the perfect moment had led to this. The TOC, who had believed themselves invincible, found their systems compromised, their defenses torn apart from the inside. Children were the catalyst. The murder of a single child had awakened something primal in humanity, a protective fury that would not be stopped. What the TOC had seen as weakness was actually their greatest strength. Within days, the 1,000-year-old TOC empire collapsed. Their carefully constructed system of control fell apart as subject races rose up, inspired by humanity's resistance. The Galactic Confederation, long oppressed, found its voice and its freedom. Lieutenant Drux, the officer responsible for the death that started it all, faced a unique punishment. Instead of execution, he was sentenced to work in a memorial hospital named after Ja, the child whose loss had sparked a revolution. He would spend the rest of his life caring for children from across the galaxy. 1 year later, a garden stood where Ja had fallen. Children from dozens of different species played together, their laughter a testament to the change that had come. A small plaque told a simple story of hope and remembrance. The galaxy learned a critical lesson. Humans might endure much, but harm their children, and they would become an unstoppable force. What seemed like vulnerability was actually their greatest strength, a deep, unbreakable connection that could reshape entire civilizations. Commander Han watched the children play, remembering her daughter. The stars above seemed to shine a little brighter, a silent witness to the revolution that had changed everything. The story of Ja would be told for generations, a reminder that love is the most powerful weapon in the universe, and that the protection of children can topple empires.